Hello, Sean Parchester. This is our latest video. We normally do a lot about the lorry license acquisition. This one now relates to the CPC qualification. Not the driver CPC qualification, the operator CPC qualification. Don't get confused just because they have CPC in the name. Operator CPC is for the company. Driver CPC is for the driver. So we're talking about operator driver CPC, and we're talking about it for the goods industry as well. If you or your company run a goods vehicle in excess of 3.5 tons on the public highway for the use of commerce, you are subject to what we call operator licensing. So all transport companies, if you're using it for private use, you're exempt, and there are some people that are exempt from operator CPC, but the main rule of thumb is you need an operator license. There's various different operator licenses out there. The main ones we need to look at is what we call a standard operator license, where you are moving your stuff and other people's for hire and reward. And there's also a thing called a restricted operator license, which is if you're moving your own goods. So the example most companies use for that one would be a scaffolder. They use their own equipment and they use the goods vehicles to carry their equipment to site, etc., etc. As far as the CPC qualification goes, if you are applying for a standard O license, and it can be a national or an international, then you will need somebody called a CPC holder. CPC stands for Certificate of Professional Competence, and it's really the transport manager qualification within the transport industry. And what it confirms is they have a very good understanding of not just running a business, but running a transport business. The CPC holder, so you could be, so a company that uses the vehicles has to have an operator license. There's certain conditions they must meet, but the big one really is getting that CPC qualification. If you're running restricted, it's kind of the same rules, same application, however you don't need a CPC holder. And CPC is Certificate of Professional Competence. As I said earlier, it confirms that the holder has a good understanding or is responsible for day-to-day runnings of the vehicles. Even if you're an owner-operator, i.e. you have your own truck and you run your own business, if it's over 3.5, then you could well be what we call an owner-operator, which means you could be the driver and you could also be the CPC holder for the operator license. Transport companies can never have really enough CPC holders, because if you do not have a CPC holder, you don't have an operator license. And also, some companies elect to appoint what we call external transport managers, which is somebody who has the CPC qualification, who has agreed to be your external transport manager. And then the rule there is if you are the CPC holder, you can't do more than 4 and 50. We're talking about 4 transport companies or 50 vehicles, whichever one applies. So the CPC qualification really is the golden ticket within the transport industry. It's always going to give you a foot in at the interview stage for transport companies, etc. And yeah, if you're an owner-operator, or indeed you could be a consultant or external transport manager. Okay, so it's a good qualification to have. It's kind of for the management, if you like. How you get the CPC qualification is basically study the syllabus, pass a number of examinations. So there's a number of ways you can study for the CPC. EP, that's us. We've been doing this stuff since 1980. So we do the full CPC qualification application process. In order to study, you can do things like do it via home study, where with us you get the intensive course in book format with self-assessment questions, and you just work your way through the pack. If you have a look, guys, we're talking on the home study 600 pages. There's a lot of stuff in there, because as I said earlier, it's not just about running a business, it's about running a transport business and all the legislation, because anything over 3.5 tons, operator licensing, very heavily regulated. So it's all about selecting the appropriate person to study and pass the examinations. It's probably about between an O-level and A-level standard paper, but it covers everything from driver's hours to employment legislation to understanding and reading a profit and loss sheet through to vehicle maintenance, even things like the ADR, dangerous goods, that kind of thing. So you study for it, so you could do either home study or you can do an intensive course. I would strongly advise that you look at doing the intensive course because there is a lot to go through, and sometimes with the home study you can look at the paper, it doesn't make sense. Sometimes if you have a bit of instructor interaction, you can go through it with you, it does help as well. So for somebody like us, and a lot of companies will run the CPC courses to coincide with the examinations. So for example, if you did it with us, you'd come and study in a classroom for 10 days. That gives you an idea about how much we need to cover. At the end of the course, you can do some examinations, and we do our examinations through OCR, and there are 2 examinations you would need to sit. There's what we call the R1 and the R2. By the way, because at the moment we're still part of the EU, if you go for a CPC in haulage, you can only go for a national and international. You can't do a national on its own, okay? And you can't do the international on your own. They're a combined qualification now. So as I said, you study the course, you do the exams at the end of them. You have the R1, which is what we call multi-choice, and you get 70 questions. You've got to get at least 42 right in order to pass that one. One's quite straightforward, because if you know your stuff, well, the answer is already listed there for you. You just have to pick the appropriate one. The other exam you have to do is what we call the R2. It's a case study examination. So you'll be given 2.25 hours for this. You'll be given a case study, and then you'll be asked questions on that case study. So it's not a box ticking examination. You have to put in, you have to write in yourself what you think the answers in. So you're going to be asked things like driver's hour schedules, vehicle maintenance, O license application, vehicle costings, that kind of stuff. Now the thing with the R2 examination is it's open book, so you can take whatever supporting literature you want in with you. What normally happens is you do the exams and then sent off to OCR for marking. The turnaround time is normally about 6 to 8 weeks, thereabouts. We do the exams with OCR, and with OCR the exams are once every 3 months, and typically it's December, March, June and September. So it's no good booking yourself on a course in April if you're not doing the exam until June. Let me put this another way. In order to get the qualification, you need to pass both parts, R1 and R2. If, say, for example, you just pass the R1 and don't get through on the R2, you still get credit for the multi-choice for the R1 certificate. So then you just come back and do the R2 qualification. It is a challenging course, and it's all about selecting the appropriate person in order to do the course and pass the examination. Once you've got the CPC qualification, it is granted for life, and at that point you can then formally apply for your operator license. Remember, if you're running restricted own account, you do not need a CPC holder. So once you've got your CPC qualification, then arguably you can apply to somebody called the Traffic Commissioner for your operator license. The application itself is quite straightforward. You need to get a thing called a GV79. You can download these online. You can also get guidance as well, how to fill this in. Now, some people to begin with decide to get a consultant in to help them do the application process, etc. Before you spend £2,000 or whatever, I would advise that you have a look at the application itself, and you'll see it's quite straightforward. But you need to provide certain evidence when you're applying for this to the Traffic Commissioner, things like maintenance contract in place. You have to have good financial standing, CPC operator qualification in place, off-street parking, operating centre, etc., etc. But really, you can get a lot of this information yourself. It's the CPC management qualification. It takes a little bit longer to come through. So then you send off the GV79 application to the Transport Commissioner. The turnaround time, if everything is in order, normally about 6 weeks. And you get your disc through, whether it be an orange or a blue one. You can't trade until you get the operator license granted. And just to give you a heads up, it's a very heavily regulated industry, okay? That is to say that you as an operator, when you apply for this GV79, you have said to the Transport Commissioner that you would undertake certain duties. For example, making sure your drivers adhere to their driver's hours regulations, making sure the vehicles have no defects, making sure the vehicles are not overloaded, etc., etc. So, you as a company has confirmed that you're going to do that, and obviously you're going to give that to your drivers to carry that out. But also, you then need to retrospectively go in and check things like the driver's hours regs, i.e. you need to download what they've got and you need to send it off for analysis and make sure that they're not breaching the driver's hours regulations. For example, okay, I keep talking about enforcement. Used to be VOSA, it's now an organisation called the DVSA, the Driving Vehicle Standards Agencies. You've no doubt seen them around. They are enforcement and they are really there to enforce the conditions of the operating licensing scheme. So the old licence is kind of granted on trust, i.e. you said you're going to undertake these duties, you're then expected to do that. The Traffic Commissioner appoints DVSA to carry out things like roadside checks, maybe visit your company to check your records, make sure you're doing everything right, no defects, vehicles not overloaded, etc., etc. If there are found to be problems with the vehicle and the driver, etc., it's not only the driver that could get called before the Traffic Commissioner, but it's also the operator as well. Because remember, the operator is signed to confirm they're going to make sure these things are carried out. So you could be called before a public inquiry and you might need to explain to the Traffic Commissioner why you have not been adhering to conditions of the operator licensing scheme. I said the CPC qualification is granted for life. The operator licence is kind of granted for life as well, but it's subject to a 5-yearly renewal. And also, if you're called before the Traffic Commissioner, so if you are called before a Traffic Commissioner, they can do one of 3 things with that operator licence. They can curtail your licence. So you may have 20 vehicles running, and they say, not anymore, you've only got 10 vehicles running now. They can suspend your operator licence. So they may say, right, for the next 12 weeks, you're not going to be running any trucks. Or, worst case scenario, they can revoke your operator licence, which means they can take that thing away from you. Whatever way you look at it, it's not good. And obviously, if you don't have trucks running, you don't have a business. As far as enforcement goes, a lot of it is targeted enforcement these days, okay? So, VOSA, a lot of this stuff is done by number plate recognition. So your driver's driving past, DVSA pick up your driver's registration number. Now they know by that registration number what operator licence you're running under. They even know things like the axle configurations of the vehicles, etc., etc. So for operator licences, there is a thing in place called an OCRS score, which is an operator compliance risk score. Every operator has one, okay, and it's kind of works on a traffic light system. You have red, amber and green. So if you pass in this DVSA people, your driver, and you're flagged up as red, I guarantee they're going to stop you, okay? If you are amber, then they may stop you, they may not. There's a more chance of them stopping you as opposed to if you were in the green, yes? So if you're green, then normally they're not going to bother you because they know that you're being compliant. So you see people like the supermarkets, Tesco's probably do thousands of deliveries a day. They're not stopped at the roadside every 10 minutes because their OCR score is probably green and they're in good condition, so they're not going to stop you. But a lot of it is done through targeted enforcement these days. So that's about the whole operator licensing and the way it works. It is getting that CPC qualification, certificate of professional competence in transport management you need if you're running a standard operator license. There's quite a few companies out there that deliver the courses. Some do it in 5 days, some might do night courses. We ourselves here, we like to cram in the 2 weeks before you're doing the test as well. So I hope that's given you a little bit of a heads up about the CPC management qualification. And if you've got any more inquiries, you can always email us at EP Training, or if you're interested in booking a course, you can visit our website or give us a call. Thank you.